Me ha gustado la lectura desde que tengo memoria. Cuando mis amigos pedían juguetes de Navidad, yo pedía libros. Mi mente era como una esponja de información y nunca me cansaba de aprender cosas nuevas. Tiempo después, perdí ese hábito. Pasaron años en los que no acababa ni un solo libro. La excusa siempre fue que no había tiempo. Pero después me di cuenta de que siempre lo tuve, simplemente lo estaba gastando en otras cosas. Entonces decidí hacer algo al respecto. Eliminé notificaciones, borré aplicaciones, bloqueé sitios web y reduje mi barra de favoritos. Me comprometí a regresar a la lectura. De un momento al otro me encontré acabando casi un libro a la semana. Leía donde fuera, cuando fuera. Estos libros me hicieron reír, llorar y aprender. Sobre el mundo, sobre la gente, pero sobre todo, sobre mí misma.
La esposa del presidente interino de Venezuela nos dice en exclusiva castiga todavía a Nueva York y otras partes del noreste del país. Fabiana, una semana de 26 ha dejado al menos 13 muertos. Buenas tardes, Michelle. Lo peor del frío brutal está quedando atrás. Listos para la Candelaria.
Hay cosas que cuando uno las aprende bien mientras crece, se convierten en hábito, en un pasatiempo, en algo que se disfruta y verdaderamente te enriquece. Hay cosas que siempre están presentes y merecen ser compartidas. Asimismo, hay cosas que uno simplemente no olvida y que al final del día, uno siempre regresa a lo que aprendió, a lo que le apasiona.
You stay away from my son. You have to steal from me no more. I don't have it. Where's the cop? Where's
Very good day. On behalf of Cátedra Alfonso Reyes and the program Pasión por la Lectura, we give you the most cordial welcome to Campus Santa Fe to the workshop Screenwriting with Master Robert McKee. We appreciate the presence of directors, teachers, collaborators, and especially that of our students from Campus Guadalajara, Monterrey, Querétaro, Estado de México, Ciudad de México y los anfitriones aquí en Santa Fe. I remind you that we are going to be only observers at the workshop, and the work will be done with the winners of the contest of screenwriting, who are Cranberry with Sergio Nolasco from Estado de México, Cyborg, Vidal Castillo de Querétaro, Obituario, Inés Shrosinski de Querétaro, Quiet Beat con Alexa Darlene Reyes de Guadalajara, Ve con ella con Andrés Álvarez de Ciudad de México, The Singer at Blues Bar con Daniela Avilés, Andrés de Ricardo Sebastián Mercader de Monterrey, Si me muero de Gerardo Vega de Ciudad de México, Epifanía de María Pamela Cuevas de Guadalajara y Confundido de Alexa Paulina Valdés de Querétaro. I request the assistants to occupy their places as well as to turn off their cell phones to give a start to this workshop. You are very welcome. All yours.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be back in Mexico City. I was here once years ago giving my 3-day seminar. And this is a unique occasion to do a workshop. I haven't done one of these here in Mexico at all. And so I'm really curious to see what kind of stories are going to come out of the people. And these stories, these that they're going to pitch you, are brief, right? And that really makes it difficult. Short stories are the hardest of all to tell. When you've got time, when you've got a couple hours, or or in art movies, you have 2.5 hours. You can have long shots of twilight and trees and bullshit like that. Gotta get to the point in 3 minutes. You don't have any time for twilight in the trees. So it's difficult, and it takes real skill and some great creativity and genius. And so we will look at these. This is, for the most part, the School of Communications, right? And so it's a broad use of story. But as we'll talk about this evening when I give my little presentation, putting ideas and wrapping them in emotions in the form of story is the highest form of communication of all, in every possible way. One human being talking to another human being, or just gesturing to another human being, any form of communication, one human being to another, is best put in story form. We do this when we're children. It's the natural way in which the mind apprehends reality, processes it inside, and expresses it to others. And you did this since you were little children, You went to your schoolyard with your friends, and you turned to your friends and said, "You will not believe what my mother did today." Right? And out comes the story of whatever offense your mother committed today. And so on one hand, it's simple, in the sense that it's the natural way in which the mind processes reality. It takes actuality, the chaos of actuality, and turns it into a story before you're conscious of it. Your subconscious mind storyfies actuality and presents it to the conscious mind as a story, filtering out all of the irrelevancies, focusing on cause and effect, and putting it into story form so that you can think. And then you can express it to other human beings in that form. That is the ultimate, most effective, and I think beautiful way to communicate versus data. Okay, versus facts and information, etc. It's all very important as substance, as content, but story. I'm an atheist, but if I had a religion, it would be story. So, excuse me. So we're going to do 7 presentations today. And for those of you who are making the presentation, the most effective way, I think, to do these presentations is in 3 steps. First, give us a word or two about the world of the story, the setting of the story, where it takes place, the society and the physics, just but very briefly, okay? Then a sentence or two about the character, or the characters if there's more than one. So world, characters, and step 3, events. What happens, okay? World, character, and events, and then you make that, you'll get on your feet here, one of you is going to start. Have you picked an order? No? Have you drawn straws?
I'm going to.
Are you good?
Yes.
Okay. And so, world, character, story. And then what I try to do in these workshops is I try to teach story to presenters, of course, and to everybody here. I try to teach or illuminate storytelling from working with the story that is told. What it needs, what it doesn't have, what's good, what's whatever, and then try to put it into the context of a well-told story, and bit by bit, then step by step, hopefully by the end of the session today, you will all have learned some good deal about storytelling itself, the nature of story, what works and what doesn't. So, shall we begin?
Yes. Okay, with cranberry. Sergio Nolasco.
Hi. Standing up.
Yeah. Hello everyone, my name is Sergio Nolasco. I study communication and digital media at Tech Campus, Estado de Mexico. My script name is Cranberry. It's about a little girl that gets trapped in a post-apocalyptic time in an abandoned house with a zombie, and she needs to get out of there and survive. That's the synopsis about my script. The world or the place and time that this story happens is in a post-apocalyptic time, as I said, like in 2040. All the story happens in an abandoned house, and only one location, that is an empty room. The characters, we only have 3 characters, 2 principal characters. The first one is Anya, a 6-year-old girl, brown hair, brown eyes, and white skin. She lives with a man that is his father, and they always are like traveling to try to get out about the zombie hordes. The other character is Luis. He is 35 years old, black hair, white skin, and he lives with her daughter. He's a brave man because she always is trying to defend the daughter. Well, the principal actions in the story are, we start with Luis and Anya. They are like hiding for a zombie in a room. So they are like trying to not be caught. Then Luis tries to fight the zombie. He gets beat by the zombie, and we don't see Anya here because she is like hiding. Then another important action, it's like the zombie gets out running. He beats he he go and beat a skyfall. Then the skyfall starts to shake. Then the other Luis, the other zombie now that he now turns into a zombie, try to go out to go and run with the other zombie. The scaffold falls into Luis and gets trapped into the room and the exit. The other thing that happens is that Anya goes out. She thinks that Luis is her father, but now he's a zombie. So she has like the confidence to go and talk with him, but she starts to think that no, this is not my father. Then she takes out a can of tuna and starts eating. But because she's a little girl, she's innocent. She has a lot of innocence. So she tried to give a little tuna to her father. The father takes the tuna can, and he starts like yelling at her. So the little girl gets a little scared, and then the little girl starts to throw the can of tuna with the zombie, and the zombie throws the tuna can, and they start like playing. So the little girl
start like what?
Playing, throwing and throwing. Yeah, like playing with the can, and then the tuna can. And then the little girl starts to like drawing lines in the floor. The confident line, it's like I call it. And then he starts to get more confident with the zombie that it's her father. And then he goes too near to the zombie, and the zombie eats her. So that's the important things in the history.
Have a seat. Does the zombie eat the little girl head first or foot first?
We don't see it.
We don't see it.
Yeah. It would be a lot of glory.
Okay, what? First note would be about the world of the story. Post-apocalyptic, zombie-infested worlds are a terrible cliche. Right? We have seen this TV series galore, blah, blah, right? The Walking Dead. I mean, this is, we've watched that series for I don't know how many years now, right? There's you know what a cliche is?
Yeah.
No, you don't. You know what a cliche really is? A cliche is an excellent idea that somebody had a long time ago. Okay. That is a cliche. The first person to come up with zombie apocalypse was a hell of an idea, right? Okay? It was such a good idea that it has been imitated again and again and again and again, and that's why it's now sneered at as a cliche. And the truth is, there are very few original ideas that have been, or good ideas, put it another way, that have not been exploited over the last 4,000 years of storytelling around the world, okay? The first written story, not the original story by any means, but the first written story is 4,000 years old. It was carved in the walls of a Sumerian temple, and it's called the Gilgamesh. There are monsters, okay? There are wars, there are, love stories. I mean, by the time people finally, carved a story onto a wall, after who knows how many tens of thousands of years, okay, they had already done all this. And so we have been doing variations And there's, you know, and in the 20th century, virtually there was a discovery of a whole world that never existed really, or never was dramatized before, and that is the subconscious mind and the inner life of human beings. It was implied, God knows, from the greatest of writers, but it was never directly explored until post-Freud writers decided to write stream of consciousness and write, you know, and so there's that. I mean, that's fresh. But when you get inside of the human mind, it's the same old problems. You know, not that different. Still trying to make sense of life, still trying to find meaning, still trying to find a reason for living, etc. Still trying to find love, you know, no matter what. So, that's cliches, okay? Given that, if you said, I'm never going to write in anything that's a cliche, you wouldn't write, because everything is, okay? So what you need to do is say, what original interpretation, what original use of what can I do fresh and originally with zombie apocalypse that hasn't been done before. And for a moment I was encouraged, because I thought, if the protagonist is just 6 years old, I haven't seen that before, right? I mean, put a 6-year-old that has to survive in a zombie apocalypse, okay? And I thought, you know, how would a 6-year-old deal with it? What could a 6-year-old do that an adult would never think to do, and therefore escape, you know, somehow this zombie world? And so that premise alone was, I thought, promising, you know. But having set that up, you have to solve the problem, and you have to answer that question: how would a 6-year-old somehow survive a zombie world, right? What would she think and do that no adult would think and do that would actually be successful? And you didn't have an answer. And that's why she got eaten from the head up. But where the zombies start. They start with the brains, right? Yeah. Your brains. So that's number one. You actually had the promise of an interesting brief episode entitled "How a 6-Year-Old Escapes the Zombie." Okay, and so that then would take, you know, some great. First of all, you'd have to. Do you know any 6-year-olds?
Well, I think there's.
You don't. Do you have a good memory of when you were 6?
Not really.
Right. And so you know, if your protagonist is going to be an eccentric character like this, a 6-year-old, you know, that says research. I have to go out and read up on the child's mind, the way children apprehend reality, and what children are capable of, and maybe, you know, go out and talk to some people, meet some 6-year-olds. I'll tell you this, I know one thing, they're smarter than you think. Okay? I don't know whether it's, I was about to say especially today, but, and I don't know if that's really true, but it seems, the impression I get is especially today. My grandchildren are 10, not 6, but they're 10. But the things that they say are so sophisticated. I'll brag a bit. I have a grandson who's he's a speed reader. Okay? You ever met these kids? His problem is font size of books. Okay? He complains about the font size. Okay? Because he's got a certain rhythm. If the fonts are too big, right, or the fonts are too small, it breaks his rhythm. He needs a certain font size. You know what I'm talking about? This is new. I've never, right? And so I said to him the other day, I said, you know, I really wish you would slow down a bit, okay? Because I'm afraid you're missing content, right? If you know, it's not a contest. How fast can I read a book, you know? And he said, well, I think I get the. I said, well, what? Tell me the last book you read. He read some. I would have thought young adult, you know, older than he should be reading. But anyway, and he went through it scene by scene by scene by scene, character by character. And he laid the whole book out for me. And so obviously, no matter how, you know, whatever the speed was, he got it all. And I asked him, I said, well, you know, the book, you know, you got it. I said, but, you know, and he said, and he just loves to read. And so I asked him, why? I mean, you know, why do you love to read? And you know what he said? He said, for the vividness. That is really sadistic. You understand? I presumed there was no vividness because he was a speed reader, right? And he says for the vividness, all of those scenes. And when you think about it, language is more vivid than life. And we ask you to turn phones off. You know what I mean? You go stand at, you know, look at the cityscape, look at a sunset or whatever, it's all very nice. But someone's description of a city, someone's description of a sunset puts an image in your mind more vivid, I think, than the sunset itself. You know, that's my prejudice, and others will argue about that, but okay? And so the answer, vividness, knocked me out, and he's 10. Okay? So kids they have potential perhaps beyond our means. So, getting back to the premise that you needed to explore, how would a 6-year-old escape somehow? In action stories, you only have you have 2 choices. This is true of all action. The protagonist either overpowers the villain, which means that they master the strength, okay, to a point where they are faster, stronger, quicker on the draw, whatever, able to use power better than the monster and overpower the monster, okay? So they master the strength of the monster. Or they outsmart. And they outsmart the villain by discovering within the villain a weakness and exploit that weakness. Do you follow me?
Yes.
And that's it. This is why action writing is so damn hard. Because when push comes to shove, how does the protagonist, right? They either overpower, outsmart, or some combination of the two, and that's it. So, with a 6-year-old, unless she's got a secret weapon, no. So the second choice then would be outsmart. Okay? And it seems to me, would it be wonderful if a 6-year-old could discover a weakness? And I thought that's where you were going with the tuna fish. I thought, oh, this 6-year-old is going to do something with this can of tuna fish because she spotted a weakness in the zombie, and that didn't work. Instead, she became the tuna fish. But you know, it was. I was a little confused, by the way. But this, hasn't to do with storytelling, but it's per se. But were there 3 characters? Or just 2? Was it the daughter and the father, or the daughter, the father, and
the daughter, the father, and the zombie that bites the father.
And the zombie, right. So the zombie bites the father. The father's Luis.
Yeah, Luis.
Turns Luis into a zombie. Okay, and so then the daughter has got to somehow try to outsmart when the 6-year-old realizes that her father's been turned into a zombie. Okay, she's got to then outsmart, and I would think, and that sets up the possibility that she knows something about her father. Right? So it isn't just that it's a zombie, generic zombie, it's her father is the zombie, right? And that she knows something about her father that she could use to turn the tables on her father. So the storytelling was heading in a promising direction, right? Could be done in a couple minutes, 2-3 minutes, right? How many, by the way, how many of you have read my book?
Which one?
Story. Pardon? Is this for me? Thank you.
Might be cold.
I drink cold coffee all day long.
Yeah.
You know what the inciting incident is? Yes. What was the inciting incident of the story?
When we know that the father turns into a zombie.
Yeah. Okay. And so you have a zombie world, right? That's in the fact that the world got zombified is in the backstory. And so the inciting incident, the zombie bites her father and turns him into a zombie. Okay. And so, that was well done. I mean, that's fine. And prior to that was a little girl hiding, where I lost track of where she was during the encounter between her father and...
Yeah, there is like a table there in the abandoned room, and she's like down
She's hiding.
Yeah, she's hiding.
From where she's hiding, could she see the encounter between her father and the zombie? Yeah. Then why was she confused? She seemed to be confused as to whether or not her father was in fact turned into a zombie.
Yeah, because she's like a little innocent and thinks that he's still her father. Like I don't know, hope maybe if we want to. Maybe in some part of her thoughts, she knows that her father now is a zombie, but maybe hope is the thing that takes that she can stay and help and think that maybe things can change.
Yeah, you could. That could make sense. That her first impulse would be that her father will still be her father. That could happen. So then he does something that reveals that he's not, her father's dead. But standing there is her father. But then I got confused about the line drawn and the can of tuna fish going back and forth. What was?
Well, first she starts like throwing the tuna can, and the zombie take it and throw it back. So the girl thinks that the zombie is playing with her.
I'm sorry. So why did she throw the can of tuna?
Because first the zombie throw it because he don't want the tuna. It's like an animal reaction, and then the girl thinks that the zombie.
We have to go back. How did the can of tuna, get into the scene in the first place?
Because the girl has it in her back. It's like the food of the girl.
So why is she eating at a moment like this?
Because it passes a little time. It's not like in the moment. It passed like 2-3 hours, and then the girl go into and sit down and start to take out her things and start like searching what does he have? What does she have to?
Okay, I've lost track.
Okay.
She's hiding from the zombies. Zombie attacks her father. She sees this.
Yes.
Okay? Her father, we think, is turned into a zombie. She thinks maybe, maybe not. Where do the 2 or 3 hours come in?
Because she sits down like in the corner because she can't go out because the scaffold falls.
Oh yeah, the scaffold.
Yeah, falls into the zombie. The zombie is trapped. That's because they are like having this interaction.
Well, the zombie they caught that turns her father into a zombie is killed by the falling scaffold.
Yeah.
So, okay, but her father now is zombified and the daughter sees this, the father sees the daughter. I don't know why this is not continuous action.
Because the first zombie goes out and runs and go out of the house. Then the father that turns into a zombie tries to go out and run with the other zombie, but the scaffold falls into him.
I'm sorry. Okay, I'm a bit confused. I would think that in trying to make, a literally 3-minute story, okay, there's some kind of fight between the zombie and the father, and it involves the scaffold falling on the zombie and whatever, but in the process the father's turned into a zombie, and I would think you'd go straight, there'd be no interlude. You'd go straight into the father-daughter confrontation, don't you? Right? There's no reason to wait for anything.
Okay.
So what you're saying is that the can of tuna fish is in her backpack or whatever.
Yeah.
All right. And she's watching this battle between her father and the zombies, right? And so when her father comes back, I couldn't understand why she threw the tuna can or what that was.
Yeah, because the girl, in that instant, thinks that the zombie is still her father. So
No, he thinks the zombie. Okay, she thinks her father's still her father. Okay.
and then she offers the food because maybe it's like
Because that's what a 6-year-old would do.
yeah.
Are you hungry? And the father zombie
So it
throws it back.
yeah.
Something's not right. You know what I mean? I can understand why a 6-year-old would like, as if offering it to a snarling dog, would say, "Here, eat this instead of me."
Yes.
Right? But I don't understand why a zombie would get into a game.
Okay.
And what was it about the line on the floor?
It's like a confident line because in the other
What
half,
does that mean?
the other half of her brain is thinking, well, it's not my father now, it's a zombie, so I need to be careful because we are like hiding by the zombies. So she starts like, I can be like near for you because we are playing, you know. So she draws a line and go near, draw a line and go near, and then she goes too near that the zombie.
I don't get it. I mean, the situation is so powerful. You know, little girl, monster. that this business makes no sense. I don't know.
Okay.
You're trying to make sense out of it. Unless there's some kind of unless it's been set up.
Okay.
Now, I don't know what, but if you had pre-zombie scenes where there was a game that they played, okay, drawing lines or whatever, it was a game that she and her father played, and there was a setup, okay? Then when she goes to deal with the zombie, we understand what this is, what it means, and we see that she's thinking that this will, okay? And so it's never the case that something, whatever comes into your head, cannot work. It can always work, whatever, if you set it up. Okay, you know, and the craziest things imaginable can be made wonderful if the ground has been prepared, if it's part of that world, part of those characters, if somehow it's been set up, it can pay off and be used in a whole other way, right? But if it was set up for one thing, it can be used for another, but without a setup, that makes no sense. The line. Good. Any other notes you might have for the gentleman? Yes, ma'am.
I thought it would work better, this kind of innocence you're trying to portray, if she was a little younger. Like if she was 3 or 4 years old, you have a kid who's a lot more dependent on their parent, and she would be a lot less prone to actually understand what's going on. So, because a 6-year-old is so, like, they already understand what's happening around them. Yeah. They're human already. I mean, a 3 or 4 year old. They're pretty human, Pamela.
No, she's absolutely right.
Well, they're not
3 and 4 year olds are subhuman.
They're subhuman, but they don't always understand, or they're really dependent on their parents. So, maybe that would work better.
Here's the difference. If she were only 3 or 4, yeah, the behavior would be quite different. But then our expectation that she's going to overcome this monster would be nothing. I mean, nil. How will a toddler with diapers or whatever? I mean, overcome. But at 6 years old, we think, they've seen enough cartoons.
She understands too much, and the innocence, it seems like it's like really big.
Well, you see, I was hoping for a positive ending.
Yeah.
I want to see a 6-year-old overcome a zombie, and so if it's just a 3 or 4 year old, that's unreasonable to expect, unless there's some outside force that would ruin the story. So, but whatever the age, the principles, you still have to solve the problem. Yes, ma'am.
I was going to comment how long have they been in the apocalypse world and how much she saw of the fight. Because if she didn't see her parent getting beat, she may have been like, oh, I didn't saw it, and then she sees the bite. And then you can have this moment of, oh, my parent is a zombie. But if she has not been long after zombie apocalypse, that just have been like 1 month or 2 months, like it's not that.
Well, he's sort of counting on genre expectation. I mean, he's into the story thinking we've all seen zombie movies.
Yeah.
So he doesn't need to explain zombies. He doesn't, I think that's right. I mean, just, and so he's counting on the audience already assuming a lot. And that's possible. You can do, Yes, sir.
Also, maybe he could establish his father as a kind of different kind of zombie, or something that would give hope that he is different.
Well, that's what I was saying. If the daughter knows something about the father, okay? Now, how much inside of a zombie is there still a person left? Because whatever you know about your father may not apply now. And so, who knows? I mean, if there's still any humanity, or they're just complete automaton. So, but that, and again, there would have to be a father-daughter scene prior to the zombie attack that would set up how the daughter would use whatever humanity is left in her father to overcome the danger. So that's certainly possible if it were set up. Anything else? Yeah. Next. Yeah. Very good.
Hello, my name is Ricardo Mercader, and I wrote the script on Dress, which is basically a minimalist drama story that tells the tale of a couple that is having a rough patch because the woman has some trouble communicating. The couple consists of two people, obviously. Robert, which is kind of a proud man of his job. He feels really accomplished, and he feels like he's getting everything he always wanted in life. And Eva is a woman who also felt at some point in her life that path that Robert laid out to her could always be fulfilling. But after spending some years in the marriage, she realizes that's not the thing that she wanted all along. Basically, the story develops in a way in which they come from a party.
First of all, give me the setting exactly.
Sorry. The setting, it occurs in present day inside a fancy house. They're at home.
What room in the house?
Room. The bedroom. The bedroom, yes.
The story is taking place.
Basically, the story begins when they come from a party, and Robert is feeling very accomplished because he feels like he's going to get a promotion, and Eva is kind of trying to ignore him. After a while, Robert starts to get a little bit jealous because it's notorious that Eva was paying attention to one of her ex-boyfriends who was at the party. Then the story starts developing in a way in which they get into a big argument concerning the ex-boyfriend until Eva snaps and reveals that she is getting she got an operation to avoid having children with Robert, which makes Robert really unhappy because she had a plan to, after he got financial stability, he wanted to get a kid in order to continue his legacy that he laid out his entire life. Then they got into a big argument involving the things that the expectations that Robert had and the expectations and the unfulfilled expectations that Eva had. And after they come into an argument that lasts for about 3 days, they come to the conclusion that after all the time that they've been together, they can get into a middle ground to avoid splitting up and continue living comfortably together, even if it means stopping the process of Robert's legacy and Eva kind of getting comfortable with the idea of being with the guy he ultimately began to despise a little bit. That's basically it.
You lost me. After 3 days of arguing,
yes, after 3 days of arguing,
they come to the conclusion they can live together.
Yes.
Because Robert is going to sacrifice his career ambitions. Is that right?
His ambition of having children.
Oh, his ambition to have children.
Yes.
He's willing to give that up. And she
is going to stay with Robert in order to avoid having to begin a new life after all those years of marriage.
So she decides she's really not ready. It's too late.
It's too late, yes.
For her career. Yes. So she's just going to be the housekeeper
of Robert. Yeah, without children. That's basically it.
Very bizarre group of people here.
Yes.
The assignment was a very short work. Okay. This, I don't know how many. You have an immense amount of exposition.
Yes.
You have Robert's career, the party scene, right? Eva's unhappiness in the marriage, her lack of a career, then the backstory reveal that when she was with a previous, she had her tubes cut, so she couldn't have children. Never told Robert. I read a wonderful book years ago. It was called Crime of Passion, Murder in America. Over 90%, 95% of all murders are crime of passion. Defined as a murder once committed, instantly regretted. Okay? The moment you commit the murder, you regret it. Okay, that's a crime of passion. Right? That's murder in the world, okay? What we write stories about, murder for the insurance money, all that stuff, does never happen, okay? Virtually never happen. And this book studied where these murders take place. If a man is going to kill his wife, where will he do it? I'm asking you. If a man is going to kill his wife, where will he do it?
Their house.
In the room. Well, in the house for sure, but which room?
Bedroom.
The bedroom. If a wife is going to kill her husband, in which room?
Kitchen.
It's a kitchen. Isn't that wonderful? You go to your place of power, okay? Right? And so they're in the bedroom, and if I found out that the woman I married and have been married to for some years had a negation so she couldn't have children years before and never told me, this is why we have guns in America, okay? Okay? And it's in a drawer in the bedroom. Right? I'm just teasing. But no, that's a huge thing. So you got this huge expositional burden. All the backstory of the career and no career, the previous boyfriend, the decision to not have children, make it impossible, in fact, to have children. To get all that out, would not only take time, it would, it would take time, a lot of dialogue, but it would be unmotivated. In that they already know that he's got a career and his career is going up. They already know that she doesn't have a career and that she's dissatisfied with the marriage. And so you'd have to create scenes in which two people tell each other what they already know.
That will be redundant.
Yeah. And incredible. And so the task of writing that scene where two people tell each other what they already know at length would be beyond the writing skills of Henry James. I mean, make that work. And so you painted yourself into a corner. So the bedroom is not going to work. In other words, you would have to go in a very contrived way to the party. You'd have to have Robert talking to somebody who's not his wife, who doesn't know him, and to ask him about what's going on in his career, and that too would be boring because there's no conflict. There's no reason why he wouldn't. There's no reason why, you know what I mean? It's just yak. And you could semi-motivate it by having one person say, oh, I've been looking forward to meeting you because I've heard so much about you. I know, that you have achieved so much in your career, blah, 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 okay? So that's semi-motivated. And then, how do you get to the big moment where she reveals that she can't have children, and she did it deliberately, and she did it years ago, and she kept it a secret?
In the script I wrote that the aunt is teasing Robert, the couple, to look after her children. So Robert begins to pushing Eva to be like, do you want to take care of the kids? And Eva's like, no, I don't really like kids. And Robert is pushing until she snaps and reveals the truth.
So this is like Robert sits his wife down one day and said, okay, look, what all these years, how many years have they been married?
Like 15, 20.
So what's he assumed for the last 20 years? That she's been on the pill? That's longer than there's been a pill. Well, you see, your problem, your big problem with this is this kind of relationship, a marriage, a long marriage, and deep misunderstandings and conflict, arguing and trying to come to some kind of resolution. This is not the material for a 3-minute. Okay, this is a novel. Okay. Number one. Number two. For the situation to be what you say it is, after 15, 20 years of marriage, finally they're talking about having children. Okay. You have to, and it's impossible. As I said, everything is possible, but you have to set that up. Okay. Why have they not brought up this discussion? You're saying that Eva has, for 15 or 20 years, had no career. Okay? Or no serious career, whatever she may have done. All right? And it's 15 or 20 years without building a career and not becoming a mother. What does she do with her day? For 15, 20 years, she's been a housekeeper, right? I mean, and so if after 15 or 20 years of keeping house, why is she suddenly wanting something that she never wanted before? So it's not that these things can't be the case. It's that you have to go back and set these characters up from the day they met, and over 2 decades of time, dramatize a relationship where things are buried, not talked about somehow, and so your number one problem is credibility.
Okay.
I just don't believe it.
Okay.
I don't believe after 15 or 20 years suddenly we would have this moment. But that doesn't mean I couldn't believe it if the characters were written and the 20 years was somehow dramatized where the secrets are such and outcomes what's been repressed for 20 years. So that's number one. Now, I don't believe the conflict, the argument that you say they are now having after all this time. It doesn't make sense. That's number one. It's not credible. Number two, as I said, it's an immense amount of material. There's nothing you can compress into a short video or whatever. What else? I guess that's it. I would presume that the 3 days of arguing are we cut to 3 days later, right? You're not going to make us sit through 3 days.
No, wait.
We cut to 3 days later. Any other notes? Yeah.
Maybe if the time frame was shortened to only 5 years, it could have been that she was 2 years on the hill, and on the 3rd year she escaped with her ex-boyfriend. Just
third year she did what?
On the 3rd year she might have escaped with her ex-boyfriend.
Escaped?
Just
ran off
with her ex-boyfriend, but only to do the surgery, not to have an affair, precisely.
It still doesn't make psychological sense, okay? If a woman does not want to get pregnant, there are ways, okay? And it doesn't require surgery, right? And so the bigger question is why is she in a relationship or married, right? And taking a step like that, when all she has to do is turn to Roberto and say, it's over. 3 years is it, okay? I'd rather be alone than with you. And just, I mean, this is what people do. And so, if you want a character to do something extraordinary, then you really have to think deeply about it. This can't be just an ordinary 3 years of marriage, 15, 20 years of marriage, and then somebody says, enough's enough. Call the lawyers. Or have you ever had your friends where somebody says, we need to, some married couple says, we need to go to counseling. We need a marriage counselor. The moment somebody says we need to go to a counselor, call your lawyer. It's over. Okay? The counselor is just a delaying step so that at some future point, one person can say, well, we tried. We tried. We went to a counselor. We tried. Bullshit. Human psychology is such that anything you want, you can have. People could do the most crazy things, okay? As long as you have insight into it and a good storyteller and you create characters and give them a life where when they choose. See, I think that could be a fascinating sequel. A marriage of a certain length, 3 years, 10, 15, 20, okay? Woman runs off with her ex-boyfriend. to get her tubes cut and comes back. That's fantastic. Why in the world would someone do that? And if you can answer the question, why in the world would someone do that, you've got the grounds for really interesting people. You understand? And so as I said, it's incredible, but it's not, when you get to a situation when you're telling a story, you realize now that no one will believe it. It's incredible. You don't throw it away. You say, how can I make it credible? Because it's off the wall, it's wild, right? Crazy, but it's fascinating. So how can I go back, build a case, build characters, and make that crazy thing real? And so it's not that, you understand? Anything else? Yeah.
I just was going to say that we know a lot about Robert or what he wants, but we don't know anything what Eva wants, like what she wants with her life. And I think when you, as a writer, start knowing what she wants, how she is, like what she wants when she was a little, when she wants now, you understand all the decisions she's making.
Yeah, well, picking up on that, it's all this setup that you have, the marriage 15, 20 years ago, it all sounds very dated. Okay. This is the kind of story we would have written in the 1960s. Okay. It's not that these people couldn't exist. This is an old-fashioned marriage. And they could still be with us. I'm sure they're everywhere, but it's the past. And there are people living in the culture of the past, but the question would be, why tell a story now about a marriage that really feels like it's 1960s? Okay, I mean their values, their behaviors, their long-term, all of this is long ago. Now, again, if you want to have a marriage that sounds very old-fashioned, she's been a housewife and wife, housewife and housekeeper for 15, 20 years, and suddenly she has an epiphany of some kind. Okay, you can do that. Okay, but you have to make it'd be interesting. I mean, everything is potentially interesting. What in the year 2020? What would it be like if an old-fashioned marriage just exploded? These are people that have been married, these are people who've been married for 20 years, let's say. That makes them, 45, 50 years old. And suddenly, this is the midlife crisis, midlife crisis. So it's an old-fashioned marriage that explodes, right? And so you could bring it up to date in that sense. But I'm presuming this is not set in the past, this is set today. And therefore, if an old-fashioned marriage explodes now, it's for reasons of year 2020. Something in the contemporary culture has invaded this marriage, and whatever that is. So it has, like I said, everything is possible, but it feels old-fashioned.
On that note, would you recommend making a period piece?
No, no, for this reason. Even though you see it every day, okay, like Roma, okay? From my point of view, people, please turn off your phones. From my point of view, there's only one good reason for going into the past, and that is to make the present all the more clear. Okay? The past is an anachronism. We use the past in order to, we use the past because if you use the present, it would be so controversial, it would cause people such confusion, argument, whatever, that you don't want to put it in the present because it's just too hot. Okay? So you go to a cooler time in the past in order to make something that's too hot in the present at a certain distance to say something about the present by using the past, okay? I mean, when Shakespeare wrote Julius Caesar, Julius Caesar is not about Roman politics. Julius Caesar is about Elizabethan politics. But if he wrote a play about Elizabethan politics, they'd have cut off his head. So he uses Rome to look at today, okay? That, for my money, is the only reason to go into the past. So what the fuck is Roma about? It's irrelevant. It's got nothing to do with now. It's this wonderful filmmaker indulging his childhood memories and blah, 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 and making a beautiful art movie. Okay? And it's a lovely film. I was moved by it, right? I felt for her and the characters, and you know, it's sentimental, okay? It's, you know, but it's divorced from way back when, and it's about the past, and it's lovely. And I guess it does. I don't know. I can't say that it deserved its Oscar for Best Foreign. There was a film. Have you seen Capernaum? Yeah? Is that not one hell of a motion picture? This Lebanese film. Have you seen it? Any of you? Get to it. It's fucking fantastic. And it's about now. It's about today. It's about now, okay? If you're going to make a film about social problems, okay? Social problems are now that you have indigenous keepers in the 1960s. Who gives a fuck? I know it happens. So it happens all the time. I mean, it happened. It's in the past. It's gone. It's not important. What's important is what do you do here in Mexico now? And what, I don't know. So I like the film. I mean, I didn't say Roma was a bad film. I enjoyed it. I was touched by it. I moved by it. I like stories that have teeth. Okay? I thought Cold War was good. I like stories that just take a bite out of life, and that's me.
What do you mean by teeth exactly?
What I mean by teeth, I mean that I discover something that makes my eyebrows jump that I have never seen before. That people behave in a way I've never seen before. I find the truth about human nature I've never seen before. That a teenage girl or a young girl gets pregnant by an asshole. I mean, that is a cliche of the worst kind, right? Girls get hoodwinked by... You know why poetry was invented? Women, we're talking about, you know, the essential things. Women look for men who can provide. Men look for women who can give birth and raise children, healthy, right, bearer of children. I'm talking about cavemen. Okay, I'm talking about I'm talking about when human beings first became human. Okay, And so women look to men who can provide. Men look to women who are healthy, can have children. Okay, that's how the species prospers. And how do you demonstrate to a woman, how does a man demonstrate to a woman that he can provide? Well, he can go out in the woods, kill an animal, bring it back and say, look, right? Or he can talk. Okay? Because one of the signs of intelligence is the ability to talk at a high level. And we call that poetry. And in English, we have an expression. I know it's just in Spanish. We have an expression, a sweet talker. You know that phrase? Sweet talker, okay? Men who can talk, okay, seduce women because subconsciously a woman thinks a sweet talker is intelligent. Therefore, he can provide. You understand? This is faulty logic, right? But it's the way our genes are set up. And so along came this guy, and he was a sweet talker. And he seduces this poor girl, right? I have seen that 1,000 times in film after film after film after film. And so there was nothing in this film for me that I hadn't seen before, except some very nice relationship between the mistress of the house and the servants. There was some interplay there that was fine. But it left me hungry, and also this is just me, and I don't mean to hurt your feelings. I really don't, because I'll tell you, 2 nights ago I was at the Metropolitan Opera watching The Daughter of the Regiments, listening to The Daughter of the Regiment, and the tenor was maybe the greatest tenor in the world today, and he's from Veracruz. Okay. And besides which, just to validate myself, I collect Mexican art. Okay? And so when I say something unpleasant about something that your culture has produced, you understand, I hope that my heart is in the right place. And, I am now 78 years old, and I have seen art movies, okay, for 60 years. And art movies have become the most cliched genre of all. It's just one recycling of the past again and again and again. Black and white cinematography, painterly cinematography, slow motion storytelling, and on and on and on. It's just the art movie. And films like Roma are screaming to me, I'm an art movie, art movie, art movie, made by an artist, artist, artist. It just goes deafening in my ears when I watch it and go, oh, fuck. All these cliches. Okay? And so, but I enjoyed it. I went, oh, fuck, art movie. And then, like that. So, next.
Hello, I'm Ines Brzezinski. My script was named Obituary. It takes place in Mexico, I assume, in a city, not so big, and that has an old side of the city.
Side? What side?
Like an old town,
Old.
downtown. So, and it takes place, I think, like in the 70s. It's about Marco. Marco is a 69-year-old man who is lonely and he lives alone. He has a past that you can see in his house, in his living room. He has frames, photographs, etc. Articles that are just there, getting dust. It begins when he wakes up and do his daily routine. He makes breakfast and he takes the newspaper. And in the newspaper he finds in the obituary page that his name was written on in one of the obituary notices. So he gets like confused. He starts thinking that if he's dead or what happened, is it a mistake?
I'm sorry, he gets confused and what?
He gets confused because he thinks that it's a mistake, but he starts doubting that. He thinks like, maybe I'm dead because he's all alone, nobody will notice if he's dead. So first thing he does is to call the newspaper, and he says like, you make a mistake, I'm not dead, right? I'm here. But the lady that answers the telephone says that, no, our newspaper don't make mistakes, so you must be dead. So he gets like, oh, what am I going to do now? Because I don't have any other way to know, right? Who is this guy that is in the obituary? So he has to go outside. I think he haven't done in many years because he's so lonely. He has a new one. So he has to go outside, he has to collect her things, money and maps, whatever. And
Sir, he has to do what?
He has to go outside. He has to
Yeah, he
get
goes
outside the house.
Right.
And that's like out of his comfort zone.
Yeah.
Because he used to be
He's
alone.
been a shut-in.
Oh yeah. So he starts that journey towards the address that's in the obituary. And in the journey he has to confront like a bus driver and the changes that the city has, that maybe it's now more expensive to take the bus, so he gets into a little argument with the bus driver, and then he finds like, he watched everything that is in the city and he gets like astonished by everything, and he starts to getting more calm and to enjoy a little bit about the people. He understands that he needs like the help of other people because he got lost. So at the end, it's getting late and he got lost, and he sees this house with the open door, and he enters the house and it's the address that is in the obituary. So he gets to that house and it was empty. It is a coffin and there are chairs, but there's no one around, so he just walks in towards the coffin, and when he see inside, like from above the coffin, for a moment he reflects in the glass of the coffin, so he saw like his face on it, and then when he is like in that moment of fear or catharsis of something, he is interrupted by another character that is called Aldo. He's also old, like 67 years old, and he is a friend of the dead man. He's like happy to see that someone else came to the funeral, because the man that is dead now was also very lonely and has no many friends, and he started talking to Marco. And at the end, like, for something Aldo said, you know that
Sorry, say that again.
Something that Aldo said,
you
get that the obituary was misspelled, that for a letter it's a mistake, so it's, you get that like question cleared, but now Aldo and Marco are talking, and Marco just let the man get his way about believing that he was going to the funeral, And then Michael gets back home, and he changed like the way you could see like after, not that same day, but a little bit after. Like he's in the house and he's with people, and the house is different, like the content of the living room, and that's the end.
So he reads his obituary, thinks he could be dead, goes out of the house, travels around the city in a bus or whatever, somehow finds his way to a funeral, right?
So the funeral of
the funeral of the person who actually died in the obituary that was mistaken for him.
Yes.
And so, but then he talks to his friend who meets there, and he goes, finds us somehow, gets back to his own home, and he's got a social life now.
More or less, I have like a problem about how to end the story, because I heard that you need to show that the character have changed after everything he goes through.
We don't have to, okay? There's no have to in writing. You don't have to do anything. In fact, character change has become a kind of fetish. And there's lots of great stories where characters do not change. Human beings, by and large, do not change anyway, truth be told. There's a school of psychology that says that by the time you're 3 years old, your personality is already set. And that you're just going to do variations on that for the rest of your life. So, but real change in human beings is, well, I don't need to tell you, harder than, right? So but it's possible people change. But there's for my money, there's an overemphasis in writing, teaching of writing today, on character change. What's more likely is character revelation. I mean, the truth is people are not who they seem to be. And so you see people, you meet people, right? And they have a social mask. Even in a personal relationship, they have a personal mask. As a parent, as a lover, as a friend, okay? So everybody has various masks that they wear, but inside is the real core human being. If you can, in great storytelling, reveal the truth of who somebody really is underneath all these masks, that's wonderful.
It was in your theory about the unsaid, and the unsayable. Is that?
Yes. Human beings say out loud, depending on the social situation, they put on all kinds of masks of behavior. But then inside there's a conscious person, there's thoughts and feelings that are never said. They're what they're thought. And then there's the unsayable, there's what's going on in the subconscious. This is what an audience would really, love to know, is who is this person really? And a story that reveals the truth, what changes, and I think this is where the mistake gets made. When you reveal the truth of a character, what changes is the audience's understanding. And so, what most stories do is they change the audience's understanding of the character. The character does not change. The character is revealed who they really are. And at the end of the story, you come out going, oh, right. And your understanding has changed, and that's marvelous. okay? And I think that people who teach writing mistake revelation for change. Now, there's no reason why a character can't change. So you could have a characterization, what you call, the said, right? You could have this outer, right, early in the story, and you could reveal who they really are early in the story, and then change who they really are over the course of the story, right? But those are exceptional. What most stories do is they show you a world and characters, and then they peel away the surface, and by the end of the story, you see who they really are. Roma did that nicely, right? At the beginning, you see this housekeeper, this servant, and you don't know who she really is. And she goes through this terrible, awful experience. And she, the best one, of course, is when she gives birth. And at that moment, you see who she really is. And her choice at that moment of how to react, it was stunning, right? And so you see who she really is. That took my breath away, right? That's great. And so so you got a character. I thought the inciting incident was just brilliant. That's fresh. That's an original idea. You get up one morning, you look at the newspaper, and you read your obituary, okay? And you begin to wonder, okay, did I die? Right? I mean, that famous TV series coming back, by the way, called The Twilight Zone. Yeah. Okay? Getting up in the morning and reading your obituary is the Twilight Zone. Suddenly, am I dead or not? Okay? That's a hell of an idea. That's just great. So then he calls the paper and they say, no, we don't make mistakes. Okay? And there's a police, if the paper had said, we get the obituary data from police reports. Right? So it isn't just the paper. It's, I think that's where, in fact, there is an office in some, everywhere in the city that sends notices of death, right? The morgue or the hospitals or the police or whatever. Anyway, and so now, am I dead or not? So then he goes out to find out if he's dead. And this is where the story got wobbly. And if he's not dead, okay, as soon as he steps out of the house and has his first encounter, I think we're going to know that he's not dead, because people are, unless this is hell. Unless hell is an absolute perfect duplication of reality. Right? So you get on the bus, it's the bus in hell, but it's just like the bus today, okay. Or, it can't be heaven. But here's the problem, where the logic of the story starts to unfold. If your ambition is, and I'm not sure, to keep us in suspense, is he dead or is he alive?
I have one more scene that I have to take off the script because
Well, now let me just ask you the question. Was it your desire to create a story in which you keep the audience in suspense? Is he dead or is he alive? Was that what you were trying to accomplish?
Well, yeah, it was like my first idea when I thought about the obituary. I want the character to ask himself if he is really dead, to make a doubt in the audience. Make the audience doubt about.
Yes. Well, how long do you want to keep the audience in doubt? See, the moment he stepped out of the house, I knew he was alive.
Yeah, because when he decides to go looking for the address in the obituary to get the answer, I think that he accepts that he's alive, but he still have that question that he wants to get through.
I'm not clear.
Like.
Here, let me just take a step back, okay? He leaves the house, goes out into the street, and he's trying to get to the address that was in the obituary. The address, I'm presuming, is a funeral home.
Yeah, it's a house.
It's a house where
he didn't know.
where the funeral will be.
Yeah, where
okay?
the wake.
The wake, right. So he gets into a bus to go to the wake. And he discovers that things have changed. That the bus costs a lot more than it used to. Okay? Which means he hasn't been out of the house in years.
Yes.
Which raises the question, who feeds this guy?
I found in the kitchen scene that he has like delivery boxes of food in the recent scene of the kitchen.
So he's been, I mean, it's possible. There are people we call shut-ins, who never leave their house. And so he does his own laundry, etc. And he's got a standing order with a grocery store somewhere that, food comes and etc. Trash is picked up and okay. And so he's a shut-in, right? The problem is this: you put a doubt in our mind: is he alive or dead? When he reads his obituary, are we in the twilight zone or not? And then you just drop it. And then he goes out into the city that he hasn't been out in years, sees things have changed, gets to the house where the wake is going to be, and discovers the mistake in the obituary. And the change that's taken place is that he's met a friend or somebody he knew from the past.
No, it's a friend of the dead man.
Friend of the dead man, and he becomes his friend.
Yeah, eventually they become.
And so this shut-in gains a friend, and now has that much. That's changed in his life. So what do you think?
I think I like the idea like just in the end you don't know that he was not alive, because that's like a big question that we have, and I think it's the question that how his name get in the obituary. It's interesting, but the question is, am I alive or dead? Because I think a lot of people just question, I'm alive, like I don't question that. Am I real? I don't question that. So when you start questioning yourself, that it gets interesting. So
yeah.
It's pretty the focus.
The notion of reading your own obituary and questioning your own reality, it's a great idea. That it turns out that he's simply a lonely man who makes a friend at somebody else's wake, somehow does not fulfill the promise. And I don't know, but it's a wonderful, inciting incident.
I absolutely love it. So I imagine like what would have happened if he had taken his car, like a motor, and taken a road that is empty. So he wouldn't have had any kind of human interaction until he arrived at the funeral. So there, the first human interaction he has could be the friend of the dead man, and that would break his sense of being.
I'm trying to remember. There's a philosopher, Descartes, I think it was. Descartes said, "I think, therefore I am." Mm-hmm. Yeah. And his proposition was this. He said, all of this could be an illusion. Okay? It could be some demonic god somewhere creating all of this around me. Total, right? Reality could be an illusion. But there's one truth, that I exist because I think. Okay? That much I know for sure. Well, taking Descartes' premise that all of this could be an illusion, that's what that inciting incident promises. And instead, it was just about how a lonely man meets somebody. It's not satisfying. The inciting incident is so shocking. It sets up an ending that will be worthy of that shock.
I have problems to decide what to do because I have many ideas of how it could end or turn or whatever. So I think I just took the idea that I more or less have been teach, that is that you need like certain steps and to make a growth of the character review. It's mostly to success. So I think that I play safe with that, and then I get the principle.
Well, I'm just pointing out. You can do whatever you want. I'm just pointing out that a story makes a promise to the audience that it has to keep.
So that would be like
So when you have an inciting incident that is as shocking as you read your own obituary, that makes a promise you have to keep. And do you understand? And the answer to this question better be equal to the question. And there's a sense of proportion.
You have to be loyal to the promise.
You see, you could do it this way. A man who lives alone and has for years and is supposed to get his groceries delivered every week, okay? And days and days go by and he keeps waiting and he's running out of food and he's getting hungry and he doesn't have a phone. It has nothing to do with the world. He has to go out after 3 years of living alone to the grocery store to find out why the order wasn't fulfilled, right? A mistake has been made, and he hates people. And that's why he's alone. And out of that experience, having to go to the grocery store to figure out what's gone wrong with his regular order, he discovers life, and out of his nasty disposition and his hatred of people, he meets somebody and something changes or whatever, and he finds a friend who's just as nasty and hates people just like he does. Right? And and their friendship is based upon a hatred of other people. So they're pals forever. So that in that sense, the inciting incident, I'm starving because my order never isn't filled, and I meet somebody who's just as antagonistic as I am, and I find a friend. That inciting incident and that climax balance. Right? You follow me?
Yes.
Okay. The way you did it, the way he finds a friend, begins with an inciting incident that has a bigger promise.
It's like a prison.
It's actually, your story goes downhill, and we want it to go up.